This is the Home Tech Podcast, show number 46, recorded on October 6th, 2011. I am your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a very beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. We haven't had rain in it seems like a couple months now, and every day has been like 75 or 80. I know as I go back and listen to the podcast, I've always said a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. I think we're going to pay for it this winter with some serious snow, but for now, it's absolutely gorgeous, and gorgeous weather is in sight. And speaking of Bellevue, we're right on the Missouri River, and the water has gone down. So the flooding that killed us this summer has gone away. I called it the slowest moving natural disaster in U.S. history. It took 3 months to crest and destroyed quite a bit of farmland, quite a bit of property, and rerouted the river in some places is done and over. So it's good that it is gone. We post this show each week live to theaverageguy.tv. And speaking of that, this is the last time I'll make this announcement. I hope that we are moving our feeds off of Podomatic and onto IX web hosting, or just basically onto the site that we use. And so this is the last show. No, I'm not even going to post this one. The last show is the last one. And no more posting to Podomatic. So if you haven't changed your RSS feeds by now, go out to theaverageguy.tv. Look on the right-hand column. We've got a whole bunch of graphics out there that tell you what to do. If you're an iPod guy, there's an iPod link. Just click on it. It will automatically load it to your iTunes. If you haven't done that for the podcast, you might want to. That way you guarantee you get the show each and every week. We also have an RSS feed that you can click and associate with just about anything. And so you can go out there and click that. It's got all kinds of links. The most common one would probably be the Zune player or whatever kind of podcatcher that you use. Everything is out there that you need to get the show automatically. Get that done today. I know some of you have done that. I've seen the numbers go up on our FeedBurner feed, but many of you haven't, and I don't want you to stop getting the podcast. So get out there, get it set. Set it and forget it is kind of what I like to say. So you can find the show here. Send us an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. You can find us on Twitter. Just send me a tweet over at @jcollison. That's my last name, Collison. Or you can find us on Facebook just by searching The Average Guy Podcast. Okay. Big show tonight, of course. We'll talk a little Steve Jobs, a little Apple news. We've got a bunch of other things. Christian is back, and that's always a good thing. And so let me just get started by introducing Christian. Christian Johnson is all things behind BIOS mods and an AP student with lots of homework. Christian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right, guys. Hanging in there. Busy week. Minimal time for technology this week, but that's all right because it's always ever so present, whether you're an academic or a tech. So
yeah. Yeah, lots to do, and beginning of your school year, so to speak, and I'm sure they're loading you up with projects that got to get done maybe before December? Is that you on semester? You on quarter? What?
Yeah, we have quarters.
Okay, so that's even quicker. It's coming up even faster for you. So,
right.
All right, good stuff. Well, it's good to have you back. Thanks for letting your dad jump in your absence. Yeah. Gary always does a nice job, and so glad to have you back. Also with us tonight, Bill Paulmenn. Bill is Cable Devil over at the Home Server Show forums. We missed him last go-around in his last rotation because of Hurricane Irene. Bill, that seems like 100 years ago, but a little bit of damage in your area?
Yeah, we had a lot of wind and a heck of a lot of rain. Not as bad as they actually predicted. But, got some damage in the kitchen and just trying to recover from that, waiting for the insurance company to finish up everything. And, we're back here and got the computer going. We're ready to go.
That's good. And I heard just before you came on, you had installed some SSD drives into your box. Is that right? Is that the one you're using right now?
Yeah, my main box, I had a Vertex LE. That was your old school SATA drive. So I got a Force GT, which the initial bookmarks, I didn't get all the drivers in yet, but the initial benchmarks are actually double the speed, because it's using the SATA 3 controller with the 6 gigabit. So
very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Are you seeing? Well, you'd had a SSD drive in there before, so you're not going to see that drastic of a performance change, are you? At this point?
It is actually double the speed. So instead of 240, we're at 490. But the biggest thing, I took the old one out and I put it in my laptop. Nice. And it's an old laptop, and it's like a whole new laptop.
Wow. Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit here on the show, that the best way to revive an old laptop is to throw an SSD drive in on it. And I've got an old Mac PowerBook G4 that, it's got a Pentium, something Pro. Is it a Pentium Pro? Whatever they used before they went to Intel. And so that can't be right.
No.
It doesn't really matter. It's just a pre-Intel chip. There we go. And for whatever reason, I'm having trouble remembering that tonight. And so
IBM.
I can't go to Lion. I can't go to even Snow Leopard. And so it's a little slow. I've thought of pulling that drive, and I don't have the OS disk for it anymore either. So that's a little expense there. And you think, oh, maybe I'll just throw it away. But you know what? I do. I use it for the monitor for the show. So it runs the studio software really, really well for what we do here for the podcast. So it's just sits there. It's a monitor. It works well. It's still hanging around. So I don't know.
As long as it works.
Yeah, it's nice to have a Mac, around for some testing and some of those kinds of things. Anything else been keeping you busy over the last month or two?
Just actually I had 2 builds to do for customers. The first time I got my hands on a Z68X board, gigabyte. So that was real nice to see with the SSD in it. And, there's the options in the BIOSes are going just crazy. If you don't keep up on everything, I go into this BIOS and there's 30 different things just for timing on your memory. Christian, I'm sure you know how much it's come to this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of features where you're like, you know what, I've been out of it too long. I just have to read up on every little setting. And it was nice to get someone with a lot of money to buck up for this new build. I had it here for like 2 weeks just to play with it. He's like, nice. Are you done with it? I said, I've been done for a week and a half. I'm just testing this with Crysis and everything else.
Yeah, you're like, are you kidding? I've been playing with it for 2 weeks.
Are you crazy?
You're
not getting this back.
Christian, in the BIOS mods world, is it hard to keep up with everything that's going on? I'm sure those guys are cranking new BIOSes out all the time, aren't they?
Yeah. if you don't stick your nose in it and kind of keep with it, you're losing out on a lot of the options that are coming and going, especially with EFI and UEFI. That's kind of a whole different ball game. But even the traditional boards and stuff like the gigabyte stuff that he's trying out, there's all sorts of options for overclocking, memory timing, tuning the chipset. If it's AMD, you got to worry about your hypertransport clocks. If it's Intel, you got to worry about your bridge speed. So there's all sorts of clocks and voltages and RAM timings that if you're not familiar with them, it might not be a good idea to touch them. So
yeah.
Good enough. Yeah, I don't really mess around with it as much. Christian, I wonder how you find time with all the things that you do to mess with mess with the BIOS. Hey, one quick update. We talked to your dad last week about you and this project that you were working on to shoot the signal from IP webcams for for a.
Oh, right.
Yeah, is that get anywhere? Or how are you doing on that? Yeah.
It's been on hold with a lot of stuff, but I think we've definitely decided on getting the Netgear Range Max router setups with the dual band wireless and trying to push it that way. And also apparently the park that this place is in now, the actual town government is talking about putting in wireless in all the parks anyway.
Oh, nice.
So it may be something we can just broadcast off that feed and get a direct line to. So
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, a little Christian update on your work projects.
Yeah.
Around town. Well, before we get to, I think, the bigger news of the day, and I don't want to dwell on that too much longer. It's probably been beat to death out there in the media, but at least it's worth a talk. I did spend some time out in the Bay Area this weekend. I got to talk a little bit about it last night on the Home Server Show over there at thehomeservershow.com, but I got the opportunity to head out to Silicon Valley this weekend, and I got in there Friday evening, came back Tuesday night, a whirlwind weekend of a lot of travel, a lot of BART, which is the Bay Area rapid transit system that's out there, and I took that thing a couple times around the city. Love public transportation in the Bay Area. I did get stuck on Sunday night. It was 9 o'clock, and a buddy of mine said, hey, I think Caltrans stops running at 9, and I just sat down to dinner. in San Francisco, and I needed to be back down in San Jose. That's about a 45 or 50-minute drive when the traffic is good. And I was like, crap. And so I had a little bit of a technology fail on this one. No, actually more of a human fail. So I quick grabbed my phone, got Hotwire up on my phone, and went to their car reservation, looked at vehicles at SFO, and found one for $20. And I thought, no way, right? And now what Jim should have done is went ahead and booked it right there, right? I should have taken it. Okay. And I thought, oh, well, great. Cars are available, right? I'll get back to this after we're done with dinner. I was in an engaging conversation. And so I set my phone down, and we went through the rest of dinner. And so I thought as dinner was over, I was walking my way back to the BART train, which runs till midnight, but does not go all the way down to the Bay Area. And so I get on BART, and I said, okay, I'll lock the car in while I'm on BART. And sure enough, it was in 2 hours. It was gone. And I could not find that deal. And the cheapest vehicle I could find at that point was $150. Wow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, crap. So major tech fail, hey, if you get a good price, you should take advantage of it. So I ended up calling my buddy on the phone. I said, hey, I cannot get down to your place. Any way you can drive up here and pick me up at the airport? And Dave, my high school buddy who I'd gone out with on Saturday night, and we watched the Huskers lose together, drove all the way up to San Francisco to pick me up at the airport. Thanks, Dave, for doing that. I appreciate it. Kind of bailed me out. We got in about 1:30, and I had to be up at 5 the next morning to get back into town and do some things. So it was a good trip. I got out to Drobo on Monday. Mario Blandini and friends over at Drobo got to see the inside of their brand new facility there in San Jose down by the airport. Got a chance to walk through the labs, and if you love Drobos like I do, it was Drobo Haven. I mean, it was awesome. There were Drobos everywhere. Listen, they had Drobos rack mounted, and they'd have like a rack mounted shelf, and on it would be like 4 Drobos across it, and there were just hard drives everywhere. And I was just like, how much storage do you have here? And he's like, a lot. And they do all their own software testing, and so all those Drobos are fired up, and QA is going on those things with software testing. Had a couple Drobos torn apart on the bench, which was very cool to see, the boards that go into those things. Mario told me at one point they intentionally make those things difficult to get into. They don't want folks tearing them apart and knotting them.
Mac Mini.
Yeah, because I know Zadler would have that thing just ripped apart in no time, and be trying to figure out how to jam that thing into his computer case. But so got a chance to podcast with Mario. That's a podcast I'll produce this weekend, and we'll put out as a special podcast on this feed here at theaverageguy.tv. So good. They've got some new equipment that's on its way. Nothing I can talk about. A little NDA stuff as well, which was kind of nice. But they've got some stuff coming forward that is going to be very, very cool, and some things I've been asking for and asking about for quite a while now. So good trip in there and a good podcast. So make sure you follow the feed so you can get that podcast as well. Guys, one of the best parts. And Bill, do you get to travel much for your job? Do you get to fly around the country much?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Job before, yes, but now, no.
All right. But so you know what it's like to fly around the country. You get stuck on a plane. Yeah. It's really the last place in the world, or at least in the United States, where you can't get internet, right? I mean, it's until recently, getting internet on the plane has just really, for the most part, it's either been a boatload of money, it hasn't worked well, and you get up there, you get in the air for a couple hours, you're basically reading a book, right? I mean,
did you fly Southwest?
I flew Southwest this week.
Sorry.
No, it's good. And they recently announced $5 Wi-Fi each way.
That's
like
no-brainer.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I was falling all over myself to get online, and I getting my credit card out. I was happy to just give them $5.
Did you benchmark it?
I didn't. I know I should.
Jim, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, what I was doing was having Skype conversations up there. That's what I was doing, and it worked awesome. I even tried starting a Google Hangout to see if I could get anybody to join me. Now, it was Friday night at 10 o'clock, and everybody was doing something else at that point, which you should be doing. It's Friday night, for God's sakes. Get out, get away from your computer, and go out and do something. Guys, it was dynamite. I mean, it may have been better download than I get here. I mean, it was incredible. I logged in. I used Live Mesh. I logged into my PC at home, and I could. It was no different than when I log into my PC from work. As far as you'd think it would refresh, would be slow. Not a chance. And this is just on Live Mesh. That's not necessarily the best remote access software in the world, but very functional up there. I even moved a file into Dropbox and then did a Dropbox sync. So it was the file was on my desktop at home, right? I couldn't get to it. So I dragged it off the desktop into Dropbox. Dropbox synced it onto the laptop on the plane. There it was. I mean, like that.
That's great.
It was cool. So one drawback is it's not on every flight yet. They don't have it on every plane. So they are outfitting them right now. And there's an asterisk by the $5.
Uh-oh.
And it just means it says for a limited time. So I think, it's like a beta. We don't know. Will they keep it? I'm sure they'll test it and see what kind of usage they get with it.
Do they have a bandwidth cap?
Not that they advertise.
DVDs, Blu-rays, get them while you're up there so you don't get in trouble when you get home.
Yeah. Well, I imagine they're going to do some testing to see just what people are downloading up there. And if it becomes if there's more traffic than they can handle, of course the price would go up, right?
So I would think $5. Come on.
It was outstanding. And it was easy. If you're on that flight and you don't want to pay, you can still get to 3 services. Of course, you can get to southwest.com. So in theory, you could change your flight on the flight. So, say you're going to land in Vegas, right? And you were scheduled to go to Reno, and you're like, I don't want to go to Reno. Let's go to San Francisco. You could change your flight on the flight.
That's cool.
Going there, right? Very cool. So Southwest is available. They have of course, Sky Mall, right? The ever-famous Sky Mall is available. You could buy overpriced gear from Sky Mall.
No more magazines.
Yeah. No, magazines are still in there for now.
Oh, okay.
I imagine at some point, though, maybe those will disappear as well, unless they just replace them with a Kindle. Anyway, they won't do that. And then,
an HP.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if you could rent a Kindle on the plane that had Wi-Fi Connect? Anyways. And you could also remember, I don't know if you've ever flown overseas, but oftentimes where they show you the movie and stuff, and when the movie's not playing, they'll show you where the plane is at.
Oh, that's the worst one with Tahiti from the East Coast.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. So they have a page that you can go to, and it shows you exactly where the plane is on Google Earth. So
that's the worst thing to watch on an 11-hour flight. Trust me.
It doesn't move, does it?
Doesn't move. No matter what you're drinking or whatever you're taking, I'm not sleeping on a plane.
It's crazy.
And it's like, you're here. 13, 14 hours to go. You're like, you got to be kidding me.
You're here? You're still here. Oh, by the way, you're still here. We did a 13-hour flight, LA to Seoul. And that's a long flight to be watching that stuff. But if you're kind of a map nerd and you want to know where you're at at any given time, that is free. You just fire up, connect to their Wi-Fi, and you can get all that stuff. You don't even need to pay the $5.
That's
so
cool.
Very, very cool. We were actually going to try and do a Spartan Radio podcast from the plane. I actually did the whole podcast from the Phoenix airport while I was waiting for the next flight. I almost missed it, by the way. They were calling my name as I was trying to close out the
OJ
stuff at home. Yeah. But same thing. Used Live Mesh, logged in, started everything here at home. So started the recorder, started Procaster, got everything going on my PC here at home, and then I just used the laptop. I have a little mini net top that works perfectly for a portable podcasting station. Plugged in my headset and microphone. I know people in the airport thought it was just nuts, right? Walking around with a laptop and a headset on. But we got the podcast done, and the bandwidth at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport was dynamite.
And how much did that cost?
That's absolutely no, it's free.
Wow.
Yeah, Phoenix is free.
I don't think I've ever been in an airport so far that hasn't made you pay.
If you go to Google and type in free airport Wi-Fi, it will bring you up a list of the airports that are now free. So if you're traveling around the country as much as some, and you want to know where you're going to get free Wi-Fi, and having it on the plane, guys, game changer. I mean, it's just, I could get tons of stuff done. The only thing they need to do now on the longer flights is make sure every seat has power.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
4 hours of Wi-Fi, although Southwest I don't think even has a 4-hour flight, but 4 hours of Wi-Fi, things are pretty down. Anyway, so it's a very cool tech weekend, lots of stuff going on. I went to Oracle's Open World, and so if you want to talk enterprise tech, which is horribly boring, that was the rest of my time there was going to meetings and talking about enterprise business intelligence technology.
Did you see Mary Jo Foley?
I did not. No, this is Oracle, and she's not.
Oh, Oracle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't see. Of course, I watched the keynote with Larry Ellison, and you know what I found out? Well, let's use this to segue into the next topic. So, Larry's keynote was on Sunday night. He typically opens the show and does a very dynamic keynote. And as we were watching the keynote, I thought he was just, I don't know where he was, but he was not on the stage giving the keynote. And he was saying things like, yeah, and so we've got this new Exadata machine that does stuff fast, and he was like, that's, I'm serious, in the keynote. It was, and I'm like, Larry, where are you? I mean, come on, dude, you can't just mail the keynote in. So I was kind of critical of him and said that to a couple of people. And then I kind of found out today, I kind of put my foot in my mouth. So Larry Ellison and Steve Jobs are very good friends. And of course, Steve Jobs, as we know now, was very, very close to death on Sunday evening. And so I think, I think I needed to cut Larry a break. I'm not good at cutting Larry a break because those guys are bazillionaires. And Larry in the past has been a guy who is very aggressive and has patience for nobody. But under the circumstances, of course, with the passing of Steve Jobs and a very significant technology figurehead, a very sad day around for most people. Everyone recognizes the contribution that Steve Jobs made technology better over especially the last 10 years at Apple. I mean, as you look back, there are some questionable moments. Christian's phone is ringing.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Dave opened the show last night with a ringtone that's very, very familiar with Apple, with the phone, with that and the iPhone. Bill, any thoughts on the passing of Steve Jobs?
He was, as much as, every time I say it, I say, I don't want to be in Apple's box. I don't like how they took Linux. I don't like, all that stuff with their operating system. They took open source and made it their own. But when I look around the house, I have 5, Apple products. The iPad 1, iPad 2, the Mac Mini, then we look at your iPods, the Nano, and my iPhone. It's amazing that he had the vision that he did to say, hey, you're going to do it my way or that's it. He kept everyone in a fence, in a box, but you really had to admire what he did in his vision for everybody.
Yeah, and I've been critical of the Apple model and what they've done in the past, but you can't not say the guy didn't change the world with technology, and certainly the way we look at smartphones today. The tablet smartphone world is different today because of the iPhone. And the MP3 player market, the way we listen to music today is different because of the iPod. And so certainly his vision, and you know what, everyone calls him a genius, and I'm not going to say he's not. But he did a lot. He worked very, very hard and hit it solid with the iPod, which of course launched the iPhone and then the iPad, and it hit all those buttons at least in the last decade. So I'm sure Apple will miss him. I don't know. Anybody follow the stock today? Did it drop soundly?
I don't know about today, but I know it dropped after the keynote.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, speaking of keynote, our keynote speaker and live from Melbourne, Australia, is our good friend Andrew Morris. Andrew, welcome. I know you had a call that you kind of had to be on, and so you sacrificed the beginning of the show for the call. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Probably a bit like everyone else in the tech world, a bit surprised with the Steve Jobs news. I think it's one of those things that everyone knew was coming, but kind of wished that it wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard, and that the type of cancer that he had is just he was able to live a lot longer than most. That cancer usually takes those patients in about 6 months, and
Yeah, absolutely.
he made it for about 3 years. And so, I do hope that the treatments that he was able to afford, because I'm sure it was not cheap, I hope that leads to some treatments for future pancreatic cancer patients.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a very close friend who had that same cancer, and it just took her very, very quickly. And so hopefully that will lead to that. Christian, any thoughts on the passing of Steve Jobs?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat how pretty much all the major companies, I mean, from Google to Newegg, had some sort of memorial notice and reference to Steve Jobs for the past, yesterday and through today. So I think in that regard, it's pretty cool to see the tech community support Apple. And if you read some of the news articles and stuff that's coming out about the commentary, there's a lot of people who are Google execs and from these other major companies that have worked with Apple, have competed with Apple, and all of them have something to say about how Steve in some way helped them with their own career while promoting his own. So I think he's a Renaissance man in the sense that, not only was he able to invent something that made him famous and respectable in the tech community, but he was able to run and manage several companies throughout his career as flawless and effortlessly as he did invent some of the devices that everyone is used to using today. So definitely a big loss.
Yeah, I think the other one that a lot of people don't realise is the whole Pixar involvement too. I mean, we wouldn't have movies like, Monsters Inc. and all those types of films if it weren't for Steve Jobs, because, I mean, that was his baby, wasn't it?
Yeah. And, if you want to go back and kind of see some of that stuff, if you watch on YouTube the address he gave to Stanford when he got that, when he got the commemorative degree from Stanford, I'm trying to remember. It was like a doctorate degree.
Honorary degree.
Honorary degree.
Right.
And he mentioned a lot of that stuff and how it played out. That was interesting to listen to. So, I mean, for the most part, yeah, pretty big hit for the tech community. But it's kind of sad, too, to see people like the Westboro Church who's going to be protesting at his funeral.
That's too bad.
That's pretty pathetic.
That's too bad. Nobody needs to protest a funeral. Nope. You know what I'm saying? Pathetic. You're a pretty big loser if you're protesting somebody's funeral. Let them pass in peace. So, whether you like the guy, love the guy, loved what he, hated the guy, loved his products, hated him. We've talked a little bit about that here in the past. This is his week. And there'll be a lot of tribute and a lot of memory to him. The guy, while not necessarily the inventor of some of these products, did what is nearly impossible, and that is have a great idea, bring it to market, and then just make a ridiculous amount of money on it. And some people think that's easy, and that's very, 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 very difficult to do. And it's also hard to maintain a company at that level. Some people think, if I had revenues in the billions, that life would be on easy street. And trust me, that gets harder the more money your company makes. And so he was able to control that and make it happen. Apple has billions of dollars in the bank. They will probably bail out the U.S. government at some point in time with their cash. So it's a sad day. I wish the Apple corporation luck as they move forward without him. And although, I'm sure he has not been effectively managing for the last couple months as he's been very, very sick. And so we wish everybody the best. Any other thoughts, guys? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's really nice that we all knew about Dress Up Like Steve Jobs Day, which is the 9th.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that one's been around for a couple of years now. So they sort of encourage people to wear the jeans and the turtleneck.
So that's this 9th, October 9th?
Yeah, September. It was this past September the 9th, which was in line with his resignation from Apple. And it looks like they've declared Steve Jobs Day to be Friday, October 14th. So there's stevejobsday2011.com.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's good. Throw that in the show.
Last night.
Throw that in the show notes, and there's a lot of stuff going on. If Google Plus just blew up with with news this
Same with
morning.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, it was just everywhere. Man, I'll be honest with you, I haven't logged into Facebook in a day and a half. I better go out there and check it. It's been a while. Okay, well, anyways, appreciate you letting us talk about that on the show. I'm sure that's been a hot topic around the web. Love him, hate him. Certainly the world was. I think he left the world a better place. And maybe, you know what? Maybe I might even buy an iPhone. Who knows?
Oh, that's bold.
No, it's behind. That's what that is. So, all right, Christian, you got some things. Andrew will give you a few minutes to get your actually Mike out in chat just said no, I shouldn't. So we'll Sprint. I should say Sprint is finally getting on the Apple bandwagon, and will deliver the iPhone to Sprint here shortly. And I'm very, very tempted to move off my Android. I've had a lot of problems with it in the last week or month or so, and it has let me down in a pinch. And as we go to change phones, I may jump over and get an iPhone. All right, Christian's Corner. Christian, what do you got for us?
All right, so I wanted to kind of kick things off with surmising a lot of the things I've done as individual speed tips of the week, and B, just kind of creating what I call the average system performance kit for when someone sits down at a computer and says, why is this so slow? So there's a couple things that I haven't mentioned on previous shows before. There's a couple things I have, so if you've missed those shows or if you are familiar with some of these things, then hopefully it will help add to your toolkit of diagnosis and success on either your own computer or someone else's. So the first major thing, again, is disk defragmenter. And I've had varying levels of success with the disk defrag in Windows. I know it's set to schedule automatically, I think, by default in the Windows installation. But there's this great defrag software from Oslogics. Their version of disk defrag is just exceptional in terms of the time it takes to defrag the entire hard drive. And I think it does a little bit of a cleaner job of, you do get a little bit more performance out of their version of the disk defrag than you do the Windows. And the grid, it has two different modes. You can do your regular scheduled defrag, and then there's a special one called Optimize. Now, again, this particular software package from them plays into some of their larger stuff, which is paid for, but the disk defrag software itself is absolutely free, and quite frankly, absolutely flawless. So I've had pretty good success with that. In fact, it's running right now because it's been quite a while since I've defragged myself. So that's first on the list. The second thing I think a lot of people forget about is check disk. When was the last time you ran yours? And I think really the important thing to keep in mind here is making sure you run it if you have an unexpected shutdown, because people will have, either BSOD or their power goes out or something of this nature where their computer is suddenly off from being in a running state and doing things. And when they start it back up and see everything is fine, they go, oh, okay, well, I hope that doesn't happen again. And, if it does continue to happen, then you're going to corrupt your hard drive. So if you get in the habit of running your check disk after every time you have an unexpected shutdown, it minimizes the risk and damage of your personal files.
Shoot, I might have to run that all the time.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, especially in the laptop, it might get shut down by mistake, or the battery runs out. That's the other thing that's happening. So you're saying, Christian, every time, so my battery goes on my, it automatically shuts itself down, or it just shuts off, and I get that warning that says Windows experienced something, and do you want to start this normally, right? That screen.
Right.
Is that a candidate for the check disk? Is that point I should run that? And I can run that. It's been a long time since I've run a check disk. Do I run that through the tools on?
Yeah, there's a pretty quick way to get to it. Just start menu, My Computer. You right-click your operating system drive, and you hit properties, and then when you get your properties dialog up, if you click over to the tools tab, there'll be the top thing that says error checking, and it says this option will check the drive for errors. You click check now. It says this system it's the system drive and needs to be restarted to be scanned, and you go ahead and do that. But
okay, so if you have time, you need to make sure it's going to reboot on you. That's not something that can be done online, right? It has to be offline for that to
unless
work.
which I again recommend it. I've been getting into the habit of doing it myself just because it does minimize a lot of the casual corruptions from Windows when the drive doesn't spin down properly.
Is check disk? I might be very careful I say that. Is check disk faster on an SSD than it would be on a spinning drive?
Yeah, definitely faster. Keeping in mind, actually, you brought up a very good point that I didn't mention. If you have an SSD, don't run disk defragmenter, because all it's going to do is decrease the life of your SSD. And SSDs really don't need to be defragged because of the architecture of the drive. So don't run it. If you see it scheduled on Windows, stop scheduling it. If you see anything that says the word defrag, make sure it's unoperational, assuming you have an SSD. Otherwise, if you got 2 terabyte drive, 3 terabyte drive, storage drive, spinning drive, any sort of drive with a platter, run check disk.
And the mainstream is still on spinning drives, right, Christian? I mean,
Right.
we're not really. There are very few, for the most part, who have made their way over to SSD. It's still not mainstream, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so once you get those 2 bullet points down, go into their device manager and see what's going on. Normally the primary things I check to make sure are up to date, most important is the graphics, then the chipset drivers. I don't know how many chipset drivers I've seen that are either A, the wrong chipset drivers, or are B, chipset drivers that are the standards from Microsoft instead of the specific ones. The biggest case I've seen this in is if you have an Intel-based motherboard, go to Intel.com right now. And if you have ICHR 9, ICHR 10, find out what your South Bridge is. Once you find out that ID, you need to go on Intel's website and get their latest driver package for your chipset, because your default drivers that are going to be on that computer are not half as optimized as the ones that you get off those Intel packages if you're running on an Intel chipset. So find out the name of your South Bridge, type it into Google, and get to the Intel site to find those chipset drivers. Same method of success for if you know you have an ATI or NVIDIA graphics card. Make sure you stay up to date on the catalyst. I'm probably the biggest person who doesn't do that. I just updated mine today. It was 8 months old. They had a whole new catalyst version out, whole new video engine out for my HD graphics card, which is a monster. It's kind of scary. It's pretty cool.
Kind of scary, pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
I like the way you say it. So, Christian, let me back you up a little bit. So what you're saying is, I buy a new video card, I buy a new ATI video card at Best Buy, right? And I install it, and Windows finds the drivers, and it looks great on my monitor, and I'm thinking, sweet, I mean, I'm getting the resolution that I'm looking for, and I don't change it. Are you saying that the Microsoft drivers that it's using are not the best drivers for the card? Is that what you're saying?
Right. In the case of the Windows Update for the drivers, when you plug in that card in the computer, the first thing Windows 7 is going to do is going to check with Windows Update to get the right driver. Now, when it checks with Windows Update, it's not getting the latest driver from AMD or ATI or NVIDIA. It's getting the latest driver from Microsoft's WDDM repository, which is their digitally certified driver that says Microsoft has tested this driver, has run it in X, Y, and Z scenarios, and therefore they're willing to push it through Windows Update. But many times you'll find, especially with the newer graphics cards, the later versions of the drivers and the catalysts unlock a lot more performance and resolve a lot more bugs that aren't included in that default Microsoft version.
Wow.
And also to keep in mind is the fact that the Microsoft driver that installs, it is the AMD driver, but it won't install things like the Catalyst or the HDMI out driver or the audio packages that come with a typical Catalyst installation or NVIDIA installation. So if you're using Windows Media Center, if you're doing any kind of video gaming, video editing, go get the Catalyst, go get the NVIDIA control panel. Make sure you're keeping tabs on that.
Bill, you just built a box, right, for your friend, and so I assume that you did all that. Did you go in and load all the right drivers? Okay.
Yeah, you definitely have to go and get the drivers from the manufacturer. You know, you might be able to get away with the network driver, maybe the OYO driver, Realtek or whichever. But as far as your SATA, your South Bridge, North Bridge, I mean, you have to by all means, get it from Intel, AMD if you got a Fusion or whatever it might be.
So if I go into my device drivers and it says that's the Microsoft driver, chances are I don't have the manufacturer's driver. Is that right?
Chances are it's not the fastest, most optimized, and most up-to-date driver.
Okay. Wow, I guess I've known that about some of the things, but I always figured if Windows found it, I was okay in most cases.
In most cases, that's average performance. So if you want to make sure you're tweaked, you got good speed, and especially I think the Intel Southbridge chipset drivers is the biggest example because especially on, I want to say Windows Home Server, even the X485, and there's some other Intel-based boards. They're Intel Media boards with the integrated chipset and graphics and stuff. You have to go to the website. It just, Microsoft drivers don't cut it in comparison, especially if you're running SATA or Intel SATA RAID. So
good to know.
Especially with the SATA on the Sandy Bridge with an SSD. You had a lot of blue screens of death. You had to upgrade your firmwares on the SSD like 16 times, and they finally started to work it out between them and Intel. And it seems like most of it's ironed out.
Right. So make sure you're doing your catalysts. Make sure you're doing your chipsets. Again, network and sound is kind of iffy. The other instance or scenario is if you can't find your device driver. If it shows up as a little yellow bubble, you don't have a driver, that's not good. It means your computer is not initializing hardware the way it's designed to, and it's going to be slower. And if you're having trouble identifying the device, like it's not, you just install the operating system and you see 4 yellow bubbles and you're like, okay, and you run Windows Update and nothing's showing up, go right-click the properties and get the properties for that device. Make sure you go to the, I think it's additional, or it's like driver extent. Let me get it up here.
Hardware ID I usually use.
Hardware ID, yeah. Copy the hardware PCI vendor ID right into Google, hit enter, and see what comes up. Normally, just by copying and pasting that vendor ID into Google, you'll get enough of a sense of what it belongs to, and then you can narrow your search. But get the right driver. So that's pretty important too. Normally, if you copy, I think the second hard drive ID listed in the device manager properties, you'll get the best search results that come up. Okay, and then if you feel comfortable about your drivers, your hard disk is looking all right, then it's time to go look into some operating system specific things. Primarily, go back if you've already done so. Or if it's been a while, make sure you go back in the MS config, because let me tell you, if you're installing stuff, if you got Adobe Reader, if you got iTunes, if you got Java, they keep adding stuff like night and day to your startup entries whenever a new version comes up or a change comes up. So you just want to keep going in there and making sure you're unchecking stuff. I'm pretty sure every time iTunes and QuickTime is updated, I have had menus added back into my start entry for MobileMe, iTunes, and QuickTime, none of which I want to be trying to start up while my computer is. And I don't mean startup as in the application comes up. I mean as in all the core runtime services are trying to initialize when more important things, for that matter, are updating. So if I see things like Google Update, Windows Live stuff, Adobe Reader, and Acrobat Manager. I mean, these are things that I could care less about having when I start up my PC.
So I'm checking mine out right now. So I've got Zune. That starts up. I almost never use the Zune player. I don't have a Zune. I use it to, we tried it out every time we talk about it on the home server show. So I can just check that off, right? So run, I go to the run, type in msconfig. This comes up. I'm at the startup tab, and then I can turn that off, right? And it won't start up the next time I boot. Okay.
Yeah, just uncheck it. Really no need for a lot of especially a lot of the update services. And then this is a old speed tip back from one of our earlier shows that we did. Make sure you go to your boot tab. Set your timeout to 3 seconds if you don't have a second operating system running. Don't ask me why. It's one of these quirky Windows things. It does shave a couple seconds off your boot time. And also go to your advanced options button and make sure your number of processors is checked and set to the max number. For some reason, having those defined in msconfig does make your startup experience quicker. So once you've gone through that...
Hey, Christian, real quick, one question for you. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is the only time I get to talk to you most weeks, so I'll ask you these questions I'm doing. So in my case, I have a Core i3, Is that so it gives me the number of processors, the option of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Is that a 4? That's a 4 processor chip, or is it a 2?
That's a 4.
It's 4. And does it is it smart enough to just give me the number of processors that I have available?
Yep, it'll give you the maximum number that's available on the chip.
So just go in there, number of processors, select 4, click OK, and then I change the timeout to 3 seconds. That's right?
Yes.
Okay, very cool.
So, I mean, in my case, I have a 6 core, so I select 6, hit apply, and OK.
All right, nice. It didn't make me reboot either. That's always nice.
That one won't. I believe changing your startup entries will ask you to reboot, but you don't have to right away. So once you get that all squared away, I know a lot of people are using iTunes, so let's talk about iTunes. If you have it installed and you're not using it for any network-related things, disable Bonjour service. There's no need for it if you have no network devices. I still haven't found any devices that actually I need with iTunes. I believe even iTunes still connects to my MediaSmart without Bonjour enabled. Really what it is it's a network listener that's installed with the iTunes QuickTime packages. But in some instances, it can become really buggy. And what it does is it will log event errors to your event viewer literally about every 10th of a millisecond. No, every 10th of a second. So 0.1 milliseconds. No, is that right? 100 milliseconds, 0.1 seconds. So you're getting all these continuously logged errors repeatedly, and it just brings your hard drive I/O way down. And I've seen computers in my house like halting to its knees because the Bonjour service is logging event errors. So even if it's not logging event errors, I just honestly recommend disabling it unless you have some specific need where yes, I need Bonjour for X, Y, and Z.
That is a service I've actually installed to get some networking type things working in the past. It is a good network discovery tool. Right. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't used it in maybe 2 years. A lot of that stuff is all worked out now. You don't need it anymore. But in some of the old XP days, it worked pretty well.
Right. But I mean, for the average person syncing their iPod up to their computer who is not looking to discover network things on a computer, then I'd go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I want to go back to this smidge. I'm sorry. What about the people with the Intel processors? Should they be looking at anything with hyperthreading? Should they go to 8 if they have a quad core?
Yeah, definitely. The hyperthreading does recognize as a core in Windows as a separate core. So when you hit your drop down and it says number of processors, it will give you the max included with hyperthreading. So.
Okay. And then PCI lock and debug you can keep on check.
Yeah, you don't need those. Some people think there is some speed advantageous to defining the memory, but I've only seen it with the processors being defined. So make sure you have that set up.
Okay.
So yeah. So we're good to proceed.
You know what I did? It did ask for a restart when I finished msconfig. So. Make sure you're ready to restart. Although I said no, I did get the option to say no, but you never really know. Windows sometimes just takes over. So hopefully it won't reboot right in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
That would suck.
So you're thinking, all right, well, I disabled Bonjour service. Can I disable any of these other services? Honestly, there's only a couple services. Windows, I gotta admit, especially with Windows 7, is doing a pretty good job of only running the services that you need. Some of the services you can definitely just disable right now, and even if it says manual, just disable it, is remote registry, tablet PC input if you're not on a tablet PC, telephony if you are not running dial-up, which most people aren't. Some people want to disable the the internet sharing services, ICS. If it's a wired computer and you're never going to use wireless, some people disable the wireless 0 configuration. Some even like fax, if you're not connected to a fax machine. So a lot of things you can kind of go and kind of figure out what they are. If it sounds like a name you've never heard or recognized, best leave it alone. But if you see it something like telephony or fax or some of these really generic ones, go ahead and disable them if you don't need them, because they're just more I/O going in when your services start up at Windows.
Cool.
So, yeah, if you have your... So we've pretty much covered... Let's see, we've covered the hardware aspects, we've covered our hard drive aspects, and we've covered some of our services. You kind of want to go back and make sure your hard drive is really running the way you expect it to. Two quickest ways to do that is to download the HDTune Pro trial, or if you have the license, go ahead and run it. Make sure you're getting the recommended read-write speed for your hard drive, because if you're getting lower performance, chances are either A, your hard drive is getting ready to fail, or B, there's something in Windows just eating away hard disk activity for no reason, and that's definitely going to cause your boot time to slow, and it's going to cause your normal operations to slow. So make sure you're getting consistent read-write performance. Also, if your hard drive is chattering up a lot during startup, make sure you go to Control Panel and check your indexing sections. See what Windows is adding to its search index. If you're not really using search that frequently, just disable it altogether, and you'll definitely save on I/O. But I know it indexes a lot of locations such as your app data folder and some things that people really aren't even searching for at all. So make sure you go in and clean it out, because that will decrease a lot of your chattering during startup. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then when you get all those things done and you're kind of up to date, you want to see how did that affect my restart time. So I normally recommend, just for the sake of how much percentage time you're increasing on average, doing one trial before you do all of your tweaks and one trial after. But there's a startup script that'll be included in show notes that I've mentioned before from 7forms. It's a little Visual Basic script that you just click it and run it, and it restarts your computer, and then when you're back in Windows, it tells you how many seconds it took since the computer rebooted to do a total reboot. So that can really help show you if you've shaved down your seconds. And I've seen really big stuff. I've seen stuff as much as 2 minutes per boot saved.
Really?
After running that script.
That much, huh?
On some computers that weren't optimized. I think at most, the lowest I've ever seen it on a Windows Vista 7 PC is around 50 seconds. That's if you have a pretty standard setup and you're not doing too many crazy startup things. But again, the longer your operating system has been in action, the more just general kludge it's going to slowly accumulate. I think I've had Windows 7, I've had the same Windows 7 instance between my old computer transferred to the Beast, which I've had built for a while now. So I mean, this particular instance of the operating system has been strong and living for several years now, and it has a ton of developer SDKs. I mean, I have almost 300 gigabytes worth of software installed on here alone. So definitely, I have on average about 400 programs on this desktop, and even though the operating system has been around for a while, it still boots really great, and I think it's because you just make sure these things are maintaining themselves, and you can keep a relatively nice running PC with a lot of programs on it as long as you're doing the upkeep every once in a while.
Yeah, it's good advice. I think maybe every 6 months, take your car in to get its oil changed.
Exactly.
Do the maintenance on your computer. Right.
So, yeah, and the little amendment to the PC kit for optimizing is, if you think your computer is still acting sluggish, then it's possible you are a victim of recent phenomena. The first thing that I found out recently, I was simply disgraced, was Firefox 5 and 6. Now, I've been suspecting this for a while, but I didn't really realize it until I realized it, was that Firefox 6, and it started in 5, has a huge, and I'm not, this is not over-exaggeration, it has a huge memory leak in it that after reading the developer forums, they've been beating it into the ground with Mozilla because it took them 2 versions to realize and acknowledge it as an actual issue and not just a add-in that's giving them issues or whatnot. But I've had Firefox 6 with maybe 5 tabs open. It was using 1 gigabyte of memory. Now, I can have 50 tabs open in Google Chrome and have it use about 30 megabytes of memory. So I had my sister, who's in college, who has 50 billion tabs open all the time with her research stuff. She calls me up one day and says, I just don't know what's going on. I've rebooted this thing, and every time I put it back to sleep and come back out of it, it's just the slowest thing. I can barely browse. None of the programs are coming up. And I said, well, when's the last time you rebooted it? Oh, it's been a while. So she rebooted it.
That's called, by the way, that's called the Mike Howard effect.
Right.
Just so we know.
So she rebooted it. Yeah, it seems kind of faster now. But as soon as she started browsing again, same thing. Everything was coming to its knees. And this is an i5 Dell laptop, Core i5. It's probably one of the quickest laptops on the market. And she's sitting here having problems. Come to find out, when we open up Task Manager, Firefox is eating like 20 megabytes per second that it's open and running, and she was up to like 1.2 gigabytes of used memory for Firefox.
Yeah, that can't be good. I mean, you got to reboot every once in a while. Bill, have you had that same? You put in chat memory hole. Have you had that same experience with Firefox?
For the past at least 6 months, pretty much switched everyone in the house and friends and relatives to either use, the new IE or to use Chrome. We just kept seeing like people exactly what what Christian said. They keep their computers on. They let them go to sleep, and in the morning they shake the mouse or up. But my wife has 18,000 tabs, and each tab is another instance. If you go look in in Task Manager, you'll see the different instances of these tabs, and they're just sucking major amounts of memory out. It's
what version of Firefox are we up to now?
We're up to 6.0.2.
Yeah. All right,
and
so
version 5 and 6 really is when we started noticing it. 5, I was suspicious, but I thought it might have been Firebug at the time. By version 6, I knew it was Firefox.
Okay. Well, I always tell folks, if you're not using the Firefox extensions, just come over to Chrome. It's a faster, easier, less problems. It's been my experience. It could be different for.
Well, yeah, that's the resolution I gave my sister. I put her on Chrome and imported all her contacts and stuff, and it's been lightning quick.
Yeah,
she still has her 50 tabs open all the time.
Yeah, you know what though? I have noticed on Chrome, like when we do a podcast, I'll probably open 20 tabs during the podcast with various news, especially in the home server show. Seems like I get a million of those things open. And if I leave that browser open for a day or two, I might, at night, I might go to bed, leave it open, come back the next day, do a few things. Chrome does get a little sluggish after a while. Yeah. I don't know what that is. I just close it out and reopen it, and life's good again.
Definitely. Yeah. And finally, I know I love reiterating hard disk issues in my toolkit, but it's important because the number one bottleneck on your PC is the hard drive, whether you want to admit it or not. You can have a single core Sempron running, and if your hard drive's really fast, you could have an SSD with a single core Sempron in there, and it'll be faster than your quad core with a 2 terabyte external drive in some scenarios. I'm just saying, hard drive's always your bottleneck. So if you're hearing weird clicks, if you're seeing that programs just aren't loading right, loading is fast, chances are your hard disk is dying, which means if your computer is still up, then go ahead, make a backup, go to newegg.com and hit the buy now button on a hard drive of your choice and preference. Because let me tell you, it's going to save you a ton of headache having that backup done before the click goes, and hopefully you're in the habit of backing up regularly.
Nice.
And it looks like Bill's really excited about his OCZ Veritex. I can't even remember what it is anymore.
Yeah, it's an older one, but it's going into another laptop.
That you just replaced. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another Vertex LE I bought. I bought two of them at the same time.
Christian, I've got this old, I shouldn't say old, but it's a Core 2 Duo HP. Oh, I should have said that. It was made by a company, not HP, that you've seen it. That's the one that's been up. Right, you've seen that. Okay. It's a little slow. Doesn't run Procaster very well for me, which takes a lot of memory, a lot of processor. Am I going to see a performance boost if I dropped a 60 or 120 gig SSD drive in that when it comes to running Procaster, which is kind of memory and processor intensive?
I'd say video editing is one of the few instances where you're still going to have that bottleneck of actual raw calculations per second in the video end. You definitely see a faster load time on the software itself, but you'd still have the same bottleneck when actually recording, and it would be faster because the ability for the program to save the recording to the drive is a lot quicker, which frees up your I/O and actually offsets some of the calculations the CPU has to do. But still, if your graphics card or CPU is shady, you're going to have some performance lag. And I think one of the few areas where you need a good hard CPU and memory setup is for those video intensive things. But daily internet and email, if you're just having slow problems, get a new hard drive. Get something spicy. I mean, if it's a 2 terabyte drive that hits 90 megabytes per second, great. But I mean, I still know a lot of people who are running these like mammoth 80 gigabyte Maxter drives from like 2002 in their cool little Windows Vista box, and they're getting like 30 megabytes per second read write, and it's like, what are you doing with your life right now?
So
and the answer is, I'm waiting for my computer to start up. And I'm like, yes, I know, go to newegg.com and hit buy now.
So speaking of newegg.com, you've got a deal of the week.
Yeah, so the 3 terabyte XT is rocking and rolling on Newegg for $180. But if you're inclined to go find promo codes, the promo code, everyone drumroll, EMCKAHA26 will get you a $40 discount on the 3 terabyte drives.
Holy moly.
Bringing your total price down to like, I think around $150, free shipping for
Nice.
3 terabyte XT, 64 megabyte cache, 7,200 RPM drive. It's great. It stores things. It's quick. You get a promo code, and it's Newegg. So
very good.
When you click Newegg, you always feel good. Like, I'm a techie. I bought from a good place. I'm pretty sure I should just stop discarding the cardboard boxes that all my Newegg hardware comes in. I should just build one of these like stack piles with all the Newegg boxes and take like a artistic photo, because I can't even.
Got a lot, right?
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time we didn't buy some generic hardware that wasn't from Newegg. I think the only thing we bought within the last couple of years that wasn't from Newegg was we just bought an open bench test case, ProVantage. It's a Lee & Lee, and it's designed for open bed. It's an open bed case, which means you just slap the motherboard on and you can keep pulling and adding hardware in like a open bed. It's like a test case basically for testing hardware.
Yep.
And it's a really hard case to get a hold of, and so we got it through ProVantage. So
nice.
But
Christian, what's the last thing you bought on Newegg?
Last thing we bought.
Yeah, what's the last thing you bought on Newegg? Bill, I'm going to ask you this question too, so be thinking about it. What's the last thing you bought on Newegg?
I want to say it was the hard drives. I think there's actually something in the basement that I haven't seen yet that we got from Newegg that
you haven't seen yet.
I know, right?
Like
that's
that.
how
I don't know. We buy so much, I can't even keep track of it. You know what I mean?
That's how bad it's been with homework. No, but
yeah,
because we bought the HD Home Run Prime. We got it at some special price from, I think, like J&R or something.
Those guys clear that stuff out pretty quick. Your dad was talking about that in last week's show.
It's awesome. So awesome.
Yeah,
just to be able to like watch up in your room, like on a network, and like they have support for iPad. You can watch TV and record it on your iPad over the network. It's awesome. So especially like these people who are paying all this money for these like $30 a month DVRs when you can get a $5 a month cable card and have several devices having a recording party in your household network. Why not? Cool.
Cable card works real well. If you have questions on that, just go back to last week's show. Yeah. Gary explains that pretty well. Chat, what's the last thing you guys bought at Newegg? Or I'll even take Amazon. We'll throw that out there. Bill, I saw you looking around. You were trying to figure out what the last thing you bought is, weren't you?
This room is such a mess. It could be. I'm looking for invoices at this point. No, actually, I bought two SSDs.
Okay.
Because of all the problems with some of them, I ended up going with the Corsair instead of my normal OCZ. Corsair Force GT 120, which is in this box now. That I just got done 2 minutes before the podcast. Okay. Not even done, but
all right.
So.
Nice.
Very cool. I bought this. If you're watching on the video, and if you're not, and you're listening to the recording, we do record the show each and every week, 7 p.m. Central on the averageguy.tv/live. But I got this microphone courtesy of Mr. Andrew Morris a couple of weeks ago, and I had it on the stand, but I'm trying to drag this in. I got the shock mount for it this week and got that installed. It's a big old behemoth for this microphone, it is a big old behemoth shock mount, but it really does look cool, I think.
I think it's cool.
It's big and bulky, but...
We were joking how you look like Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh. I'd have to have it coming down, see if I can do that. You can't see it if I do that. The microphones change the equation on the podcast. And this is a Yeti Blue, and those are like less than $100 now on Amazon. Easy to get if you're doing any kind of podcasting. It is kind of nice to have that. I've monkeyed around with switching back and forth between inner ear earbuds and these headphones, and both the headphones sound great. The earbuds not as great. But they're more comfortable. So I kind of go back and forth on that. But a little podcasting rig on this works well now. I think I've gotten it all figured out on how to get the right sound. It was a little bassy at first. So if you go back wondering why all of a sudden my sound got real bassy, that's because I switched mics. And so we've worked to try and get that bass sound out of it. And I think it's okay now, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah. Sounds great.
Good. Cool.
And I think the last thing, I want to say one of the last purchases was the 16 gigs of RAM that I was talking about on a deal of the week.
Yeah, that's $85, right?
Can't beat that price. Yeah. Come on, DDR 1600 at $85. That was like $250 to get a year and a half ago. Yep. So we bought some of that, and there's a couple more motherboards we put in, so getting ready for some more builds. And then to close up an extremely extended edition of Christian's Corner.
Are you going to talk about, hold on, before you get going, I see the notes here. I made a promise to some folks that I wouldn't talk about a Windows version that's brand new on this podcast. Are you going to talk about it?
It's not about the version that everyone else is talking about.
Okay, go ahead, go.
All right, so not mentioning the version everyone else is talking about, Windows Server 8, Server, S-E-R-V-E-R, not that other word that we're bringing up, is announcing disk pooling. So it looks like they're bringing back some form of drive extender that was lost in Windows Home Server 2011 into the generic server release for whatever replaces Server 2008 R2, and it's called Storage Specs. So while there's not a lot of details out, it looks like it's the same kind of idea where there's no external storage array, as was the whole concept behind the drive pool and home server, that you can just add drives through software and create a drive pool. So looking forward to that. I think that's something to be interested in, but again, at this point, I still have like a lot of question marks around the thing no one wants to mention and the server edition, in terms of if they're putting all this cool, neat server-grade stuff that was like part of home server and whatnot into the new edition, how is this going to play into such a to-the-cloud version of the OS no one wants to talk about?
Yay, cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christian, we talked a little bit about that. I talked with Zadler about that a ways back. There are some kind of funky requirements for that.
I have no doubt it's Microsoft.
Yeah, it's not as straightforward as you think. So, it's not like you take USB drives and plug those in.
Right.
Right now, it looks like they're only working on SAS drives and some other weird requirements. So, and of course, it is a server, and it's designed for an enterprise environment. And so most of those folks are going to either have some kind of attached storage, or they're going to use higher quality, and that's probably the wrong way to say it. They're going to use different equipment to attach those drives a little bit faster to attach. So it's not really designed. Windows Server, okay, this is my opinion, by the way, that Windows Server 8 is not really designed for the home user, and it's not the way that's set up, or that drive pooling is set up, is not something you're going to take a crappy Dell Centrino box like we did with version 1 and make a Windows Server out of it, right? It's designed for enterprise class hardware. So check those requirements out. If you're interested in that, go out, just Google Windows Server 8, and there's some documents out there that, especially the ones from Microsoft, that talk about some requirements. We'll probably spend a little time this weekend. Let me segue a little bit, and as we close up Christian's Corner, we'll probably spend a little time on Sunday, or maybe we can spend a little time on Sunday. Zadler will be around. Sunday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, we're moving Rich's Random Podcast Generator to Sunday night. I'm going to be busy for the next two Saturdays, and so is Rich, and so we're going to need to do it on Sunday. So maybe that gives some of you an opportunity that haven't done that before to get on the podcast. We just open that up to anybody who wants to come out and talk. We call it the Weekend Tech Chat. And if you want to come out and do that, you can find probably the easiest way is track me down on Google+, and I'll add you to a circle, and we'll get you added in. We really
if
do.
you're over 18.
If you're, yeah, sorry, Christian. We got, you know what, dude? You just need to hack in there somehow. I challenge you, hack Google.
Oh, I'll just email you my password. It's so easy.
Yeah, I should just open another account. There's got to be a way for you to get into Google+, Christian. Gotcha.
My emails are not really all that exciting. So.
Well, so this weekend, if you're interested, Sunday, 3 p.m., hopefully we'll have this podcast out by Saturday. And if you're listening on Sunday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern, put that into Google to translate it into your part of the world. And you get an opportunity to talk chat. John Zadler, jump in there with us, and maybe it's time to come back and talk a little Server 8 and the requirements for that. All right, some good stuff. All right, you know what? We've lost Andrew. Andrew's in-laws came, and he said, "I'll be right back." So he's late.
I wonder
for the
if
show.
he ran out of the house.
He's late to the show. He comes in and talks for a few minutes. I really wanted to get a follow-up on his touchpad experience. He talks for a few minutes. He says in chat to us, "Hey, my in-laws are here. I at least got to go say hi." Well, that was like 30 minutes ago.
It's a big high.
Yeah, it is. So I guess he must be a big deal. So Christian, anything else? We've come to the end. We've run out of material. Bill, anything you wanna throw in there to maybe we'll take questions from the chat. We've never done that. Maybe we should just take a few questions from chat. What do you think? We got how long? Let's see how long we've been going. Here, hold on. Oh, an hour 20.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's how long the recording's been on. We probably didn't start the show. It's probably just over an hour. There was Christian, while you were talking, there was a big iTunes debate going on in chat, and my friend Mike Howard was just adamantly against iTunes. I mean, just he almost defriended me.
Kind of like HP.
Yeah, kind of like you and HP. What's your boys, let me ask you, what's your opinion of iTunes at this point? I mean, I used to use it a lot. It is a big memory hog and a big pig on a Windows system. It doesn't run very well. Bill, what's your experience?
iTunes should only be on a Mac. There's no reason for it to be on a Windows machine.
Well, but if you have an iPod, you have to use it, right? If you have an iPod and you have a Windows machine, you have to use it, right?
It's like they did it on purpose.
So Gary on the video, is that a cookie?
Yeah.
Christian? Oh, did he bring you one too? Are you guys baking fresh cookies at the Johnson house?
Was he wearing a pipe vest?
Oh, that's awesome. I think it was. I think it was. Bill, Gary likes to come in when he's not on the show. I should probably just put him on the show every week.
He's great. I love him when he's on the show.
Because he rolls in a robe, and then he makes faces behind Christian, and I should just have him. Christian, I probably should just have him on the show every week. He's a great fill-in for you though. So he does very well.
Cookies.
Yeah. So is that chocolate chip?
Yeah. So everyone can hear how delicious it sounds over the stream.
May I?
Warm out of the
I am so jealous. I am so
trying
jealous.
to stay under 180 here.
I should only be, it used to be Sarah would ask me about midway through the show, can I bring you a drink or something? She's just quit doing that. So I'm kind of screwed. No drinks. So Christian, do you have iTunes on your PC there?
Yeah, I have iTunes. Yeah, it's sluggish. I've had some issues with just the store being unresponsive, but I always hit up the freebies of the week on iTunes Store. I'm obsessed with some of them.
Really? For the music?
Yeah, mostly the like 1 week they had the They had a Bob Sager bonus EP with like 7 tracks on it. The whole EP was free, so I grabbed that.
Nice.
I grabbed Bob Sager.
Hey, Christian, let me ask you this question. So if you download it from iTunes for free, do you feel like ethically you can share that? So if I said, "Hey, Christian, send me those MP3s," is there an ethical dilemma there? Would you send that to me? Because it's not DRM anymore, right?
That's true. It's not DRM anymore. I went to see. Well, I'm trying to think if there would be
but I'm really going to find out who's my friend here. Bill, are you going to send those MP3s to me?
Give me your Dropbox account.
Yeah, Dropbox.
I don't play an instrument anymore. Let's go.
See, my answer to Jim would be go to Subsonic, where I can share the link to you, and then you can get the stream. And then if you're a privileged user, you can download the actual MP3. So.
Oh, now I see a little bit of Andrew. He's typing it. Oh, back in a few minutes. So we'll. Somebody tell Andrew we're almost done with the show. Andrew, we need you. He's there. He's there. He's smiling. Are you listening, Andrew? Can you hear us? He's smiling. So, so the question is at hand. You download it from iTunes for free, right? You paid nothing for it. Can you share? Can you give me that MP3 and be? Is that ethical?
Legally or morally?
Let's say legally.
Legally, I believe it's still copyright infringement.
Yeah, but I could have gone to iTunes and got it for free.
You could have.
Now, and you're not broadcasting it, or you're not putting it on a site to give it away in mass.
If you read the 5 billion terms of service pages that come with the iTunes store, I'm sure somewhere in there it's allowed.
I'm sure it doesn't allow it. I'm sure it doesn't. Mike Howard says if this is being recorded, the answer is no. Andrew, welcome back.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Hey?
How did that go? You had you had some family come in that you needed to say hi to?
The in-laws arrived. And I figured I'd better go out and say hello and go
yeah,
hi, Jack.
that's always good for the marriage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And are they staying through the weekend?
Yeah, they're saying only for the weekend. I thought they would have been here for a bit longer, but yeah, they decided to only stay for the weekend. Then they're off to Adelaide. So.
Oh, okay, very cool. Adelaide's a really nice city down to the south, right?
Yeah, west.
Isn't that southwest? Well, I guess it's straight over west, isn't it?
Yeah, straight over west. Yeah, so it's probably about 8-10 hours over. So my father-in-law was in Vietnam, and they've got a reunion over there later this month.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
very cool.
But they got the van. Got to do some repairs on the van tomorrow, which will be interesting because they're push bikes. They had the bikes mounted on the rear bar, and the rear bar decided to try and twist itself off the back of the caravan somewhere in Sydney. So.
So how long have they traveled to get to you?
They've been on the road for 3 days.
Wow.
But they're not doing big Ks. They're only doing small miles. So.
Okay. So Sydney to Melbourne is how many hours?
I did it weekend before last, and we did it in about 8.5.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. So it's a full day.
That's two stops. That's like fuel and pit stops.
That's Omaha to Chicago. That's Omaha to Denver. That's San Francisco to LA. So that's not too bad. And then 18 hours. So one day they can try and do that in one day over to Adelaide.
No. I think they're taking about a week.
Okay. Oh shoot, that's easy.
So they'll do a couple 100 Ks, stop for a day or so, another couple 100 days.
And that's the southern coast of Australia, right? I mean, that's correct. All. Yeah. Is it pretty much coastline most of the way for them? Will they be in and out of the coast? Or?
I think they'll probably go inland. The coast road's a bit of a bastard of a road. It's got a cliff down one side and. Not the sort of road you want to tow a caravan on.
Probably the difference between Interstate 1 and I-5 in California for our California friends.
Much. Yeah, I know those roads. Yeah, pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's beautiful, but your car may end up on the beach upside down.
You don't want to do it towing a caravan, that's for sure.
Or sleeping, yeah. Yeah.
You're sleeping. Don't set the cruise control and get Nick in the back to make a sandwich. Yeah.
No, I just, I came back from the West Coast this weekend and had breakfast with my sister in Santa Cruz. By the way, had just a delightful breakfast at the Santa Cruz Diner, which is kind of a local drives. What do they call it? Dives, and diners, I think is the show here in the U.S. One of those local places that is just...
a chew and spew.
Say that again?
It's a chew and spew.
Yeah, there you go. And so the gal said, what are you going to have for breakfast? I said, I want eggs, biscuits and gravy, and pancakes, and just bring that in some kind of combo. I don't care. I don't want to find the combo. Just bring something like that. And
that sounds like an artery hardener.
Oh, it was so good. Let me tell you, it was just delicious.
The choke and puke.
Yeah. Biscuits and gravy is just my favorite thing.
Do you have any bacon with that?
No bacon, but there's sausage in the gravy. Maybe I should have. You should have made that one. So since this is a tech show and I'm talking about food, let me just say this. So when I used to live out there, there's a restaurant called Togo's, and it's a sandwich place local to the Los Gatos area, and they used to sell sandwiches over at the San Jose State. And the sign fell down. It said sandwiches to go, and the sign fell down, and all that was left was to go. So this place just got to be known as Togo's, right? My wife and I, Sarah, we used to go to Togo's all the time. So when I was there was a Togo's across the street from the diner. So I took a picture with my phone, right there, uploaded it right to Facebook, then copied her on it, and kind of teased her right over the. I mean, within a minute, it was going right to her phone saying. So it's just amazing to me how fast, and now that all my pictures are just automatically loading right to Google Plus. If I do go to the iPhone, that might be something I would miss. But because I'm sure there's no Google Plus on the iPhone yet.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not very good though.
Okay. Yeah.
Although I'm a bit with you. I'm at the reaching the stage where I'm getting sick of Android.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm sick of it running out of memory. I'm sick of it hanging. Well, not hanging, but it sort of gets performance degradation, and I'm constantly looking at it going, I've got to clean out the memory again. I've got to uninstall more apps because I can't work out where it's consuming all its memory from.
Right. Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
No, it is difficult, and I've found my Android phone has let me down when I'm in a pinch, when I need the phone to respond to me.
It doesn't.
It absolutely doesn't.
That's why you need Evo.
Horrible.
That's why you need Evo.
Well, I don't know. And
I'm telling you, the Snapdragon processor has got to be what makes a difference.
Yeah.
That Snapdragon 1.2 gigahertz thing is probably what lights it up.
Yeah.
I got a Snapdragon 1 gigahertz though, and it's meh.
Yeah. So Christian, you're on the Evo now?
No.
Oh, okay. Bill, what are you on?
I'm still on the truck.
You still got the dinosaur.
The dinosaur 6.5 Winmo. Although it has the HTC. That's really.
Have you hacked the BIOS on that thing yet?
It has. Yeah, I actually did write the lead ROM to it so that you can put whatever cooked ROM you want on here. So I have it's like the Sprint version, but it's a cleaned up version. The developer got rid of all the Sprint bugs with it. So
nice.
And you have to hack the boot ROM for that, so it just runs the loader. So
why am I not surprised?
Yeah.
And that's the name of my next band. Hacked my boot ROM. It's a great band name. Hacked my boot ROM. Bill, what are you running on phone?
Because I need it for work, I'm actually running the Apple 4G.
Oh, okay. So you've come to the dark side.
Yep.
All right. Very cool. Andrew, anything, we didn't see any notes, anything you want to cover before we wrap this thing up? I hate to say that since you just came back, but...
I bought nothing this week. I've had a week where I've just been flat stick and performance reviews and... Yeah. So that's one. It's the old, I hate reviewing other people's performance because it means I've actually got to think about how they perform.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no fun. One of my least favorite things to do, but it's what we do. So, Bill, you got any big plans? Got anything coming up? Any tech stuff coming up that's going to be cool?
cool-wise, no, other than a weather station update.
Oh, yeah.
Which people probably really could care less about.
No.
Because
Can you monitor that with a PC? Like an output
you can check it right now. Mine's online all the time. KNJ Mills 1 on NOAA or WUnderground.com. You can see live weather at my house. Like anyone could give a hoot. Especially
for
if you
weather
live in
geeks.
Buffalo.
For weather
for weather geeks, yeah. We like to exchange that stuff, and we kind of get an idea of what's coming towards us before it gets to us.
All right, so how do I get to the site?
The easiest way is go to WUnderground.com, which is weatherunderground.com.
Yep.
If you use the zip code 08535,
08535,
and then you will my weather station out of the 4 that you might see will be KNJ Mills 1 is the first one.
I just get it. Just says it just brings up one of the cities.
I know why. Sorry. I subscribe. Let's see.
What are you trying to do to me, Bill?
No, the reason for that is because it picks up a default on that.
Okay. All right.
And mine's defaulted to obviously my station. So you're seeing something that probably says Prineville.
Yep.
So if you scroll down, it says Millstone Township, Millstone. If you go select station select to the right of that.
Station select.
I see Millstone Township TWP.
Right. And they changed that. So if you go Millstone Township, let's just take a look. I got to tell you which one it is because there it is. The second one down will be Millstone Township. Yeah,
8.1 degrees Celsius.
If you Celsius, then yes, whatever the conversion of 46.5 Fahrenheit is, that would be just number 2. And
did it automatically adjust for you, Andrew? Is it in Celsius?
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything.
So it's Millstone Township. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's Millstone Township, and once you click on that station, which is number 2 on the list,
right,
it will actually show weather station Millstone Township, Millstone TWP.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Elevation 100 feet.
Yeah, whopping 100 feet. So tsunamis, watch out.
And the moon is waxing gibbous.
Yeah.
I like the way you say that, Andrew. It just sounds good when it's said by an Australian.
Waxing gibbous.
Yeah.
Today's almanac. What's that? Does that tell you when the fish are going to bite or something?
That's exactly right. Stripers are coming down. Striped bass are coming down from New England right now, and we'll be going out next weekend.
Nice.
Yes. Be nice night fishing tonight. You got no wind. Awesome.
Bill, what's this rig cost you? This weather rig? What are you into that thing?
If you go in and we're all looking up. If we go back up top and we hit under weather station, we actually click on Millstone Township with a comma, Millstone TWP, and click on that link. It will take you actually to my data. What I have is my whole setup is a Davis Vantage Plus 2. That will be it probably runs about $300 right now. You can actually get the lightning addition to it, so you put a rod in and it will actually detect lightning.
Awesome.
So detect it like what? I mean, like there's lightning in the area?
In the area, yeah. It will feel the charge and actually put a pulse through, and then it's wireless to my base station here in the house. So we have you can see the temperature, barometric pressure, wind speed, direction, and obviously rainfall. So that's all the sensors I have hooked up. But you can do UV ratings. You can hook up a lot of sensors.
Wow.
You
can even buy them in Australia.
Yeah.
So Davis Vantage Pro 2 is $834.
Did you say how much your weather station costs? I asked you that, and I didn't. Maybe I wasn't listening.
Yeah, no, that's good as long as my wife's not. But yes, it's probably about. It was. So
it's not wife approved. It doesn't have a wife acceptance factor.
You know, for a weather station, she's like, really? Do you need this much accurate data? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you gonna put what's the? She calls my weather station that movie. Oh, I can't think of it. Where they drop the sensors out
Twister?
the back.
Twister.
Yeah, Twister, but they called it something. Anyway, she calls it that.
Dorothy.
Or Dorothy, thank you.
I call it Dorothy, yeah.
That's it, yeah. She goes, oh, how's Dorothy doing? But yeah, it's about $400 in US right now. new versions coming out with more memory and a bigger solar panel, so it keeps that battery charged a lot. And everyone on the podcast can now see where I live.
What? Yeah. What's got you into weather? I mean, what was the?
Know what? I was a racer, and unfortunately retired last year. But from racing, we had horrible. Where I live, you have either New York weather, which is way north, or Philly weather, which is southwest of us. You could not get an accurate weather report because of the Delaware Valley. The weather would change as soon as it came across from west to east into New Jersey. So we started this little network that would surround the racetrack with these weather stations, and we can figure out what was going to happen. So while you're in the trailer, you're setting up your car, or you're watching to see if we're going to get a rain delay. I can look up on my phone and see what my weather station told me, see what my other friends were, and we can get an idea that, hey, don't worry about it, we're going to get rained out. Which would change as soon as the weather came over to Delaware.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really geeky.
Well,
I'd get in so much trouble with one of these. I get in trouble checking the output of the solar array.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Sure.
I could get divorced over this.
Yeah, well, so Bill, you wouldn't consider yourself a weather geek then. I mean, you had a real need for the weather because you were, going to see if you could race the next day, right? I mean, that's...
But now in a hurricane, I have 3 tires holding it down. So even the spikes I put in the ground at 50 mile an hour winds, it will try to rip that station right out of the ground. So, during the hurricane and everything else, no, I was out there. I was there with the camera taking pictures. I was, I really liked the weather.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. But you're right though. The East Coast has that New York, Philly bias, right? There's only really 3 cities on the East Coast, right? New York, Philadelphia, and Washington D.C.
And Boston, if you're.
That's true. Yeah. So we'll say 4.
Don't really count.
Yeah. And so if you watch the media in that area, that's all they really care about. There's South. They're not really the East Coast.
They could care. Chances. It's my mother-in-law. It's going to rain. It's going to rain. I said, you're listening to New York stations. We're 50 miles away. Things are so much different because of the coastline. It wipes out storms. As soon as that weather comes across from Pennsylvania, it wipes them out. And
really?
People don't get it.
Yeah. Well, good. Appreciate you sharing that. That's kind of cool. That's one of those home tech items that, one of those special home tech items like like home security or like home automation that it's kind of got a very specialized niche. Do you have kind of a group of, do you have forums? Are there blogs that you follow for that kind of stuff?
Not on wunderground.com. Everyone has their own blog, and we can share information and pictures and everything else back and forth. It's a really good site, especially if you want to spend the $10 to be like a member. You really get some really great information out of it.
That's cool. I see a new podcast coming on, like Weather Tech.
Yeah, you better have people all over the world.
With Bill.
Yeah,
Weather
Snooze.
Tech. We could do reviews on weather equipment. We could talk about the weather. Everybody loves to talk about the weather.
We used to we actually tracked what the New York gentleman, I won't say his name, what he would say for the weather and how wrong he was. Which would burn him out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Bill, thanks for coming on tonight. Always good to have you and good to have you back. I'll let folks know that if they want to contact the show, best way to do that is podcast@theaverageguy.tv. They can talk to me. They can tweet to me on Twitter. That's a lot of T's, isn't there? And I don't have a pop filter, so it can make the pipe go pop, pop, pop. But they can get me on Twitter. Just tweet Jay Collison. That looked really funny on the video. And let's see what else. Facebook, which guys, I need your help on Facebook. I need you guys out there, especially Christian and Andrew. We're trying to build Facebook, at least our Facebook site, the Average Guy Network, into kind of a pseudo forums. And so if you have questions that you want to pose to us, you can ask them right there, and we monitor that, and we'll get back to you. But guys, jump out there if you want to do any kind of interaction. We're going to see if we'll make Facebook work as a forums. Maybe it won't. We've been doing this for a couple months now. It hasn't worked real well. One more reminder that We are changing the RSS feeds, and no more Podomatic. So if you're hearing this, that means you got it somehow. But if you are, well, I guess I don't need to remind people if they're not if they didn't change their Podomatic feed, they're not listening. So I guess that reminder at this point doesn't do anybody any good. So anyways, if you do download this podcast not automatically every week, we've got a bunch of icons out there you can click, and it will do it automatically for you, both iTunes and any other podcatcher. All right, that's it for the show. Thanks, Bill. Christian, great to have you on as always. Andrew, thanks for jumping in and with the in-laws there. It's good to have you. This will be another Home Tech podcast. We'll do it all again next week, 7 Central, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Have a great week, and we'll see you guys back here next week. Thanks.
See you guys.
Take care.
Have a great night.
All right.
All right, guys. I got to run.
Yeah, go, Christian.
All right. Bye, guys.
Good to see you, buddy.
See you.
Nice seeing you, Bill. Andrew.
Take care, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Take care.
Bill, good segment on the weather.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I was unprepared with that.
No, that's something like Andrew's
Solar
stuff
yeah.
that when you're on, that would be a good thing to bring up whatever's new for you in that arena.
Right.
So
and I meant to say that you can get, cheaper ones that aren't as good for like, $150, $200. You can, get one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, but here's the deal, right? So if you're a weather geek, right, you're just not going to buy crap, right?
No, right.
You want good weather stuff. So, who makes that again? Who makes your
Davis Vantage 2 is my version, but it's by Davis.
Davis
Systems is the crowd in Australia who's selling.
Yep,
it's like double the price. It's double the price out here.
Yeah, I'm surprised what it is. I mean, when you
That's
said
a bitch.
$800, I almost crapped myself. My wife hears that, she's gonna crap on me.
Andrew, I assume you got your box. You got your touchpad cover.
I
sent
did.
to me.
I did. It works well.
Yeah. So touchpad cover from the United States, probably not as good to get as a weather station from the United States, right? Although the shipping to Australia would probably be, I don't know if that'd be cost prohibitive to try and buy something like that here. And
yeah, I'll put some feedback in the guys' eBay store. You really need to, not eBay, Amazon store. You really need to ship to Australia.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. It worked. It's fine. But you got your cover for you have your cover for your touchpad?
I did. It fits. It's a beautiful fit. It's much better than just chucking it into a little zippered bag thing that we were using previously. So,
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, fire away. Go.
That's the HP for $99? That
Mm-hmm.
is that what you're talking about?
The mysterious HP touchpad.
Now, can you hack that?
Doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about getting it if you can hack it and put a different OS on it.
They reckon they're probably about a month off Android.
They are going to be able to put an Android on.
So if you have a look for Cyanogen mod and touchpad on Google, there was a demo I was looking at last week where the guy actually walks through the whole, plug it into the PC, run the loader on it, push it out, boot it up into Cyanogen the first time round, and then goes and shows everything working in it. It's really cool.
Is it something that's going to be supported by HP to live
hell
it? No, I wasn't sure. I didn't know.
Even in its original
wanted to keep it
configuration, Bill, it's not going to be supported by HP.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've.
Well, you're right.
Support.
Yeah, you're right.
They've dropped complete support for it.
I mean,
I reckon it'll be Amazon.
Yeah.
So they're making one more run, but I have a feeling all those touchpads have already been consumed in the channels, and by a comment that
Staff.
Well, yeah, they're all going to go to HP employees. No joke.
From Australia.
No joke. Yeah. Well, in the U.S. here too, I'm sure.
Yeah, our store, they advertised it on a Thursday that the store was going to open at 9 a.m. on Friday. So everyone, of course, goes and clicks on the link. Hey, store's open, new pistol, let's put an order in. So the store crashed within probably 20 minutes after people realised you could put an order in. So those orders all got cancelled, and it opened at about 3 to 9 on the Friday morning. And so, again, it crashed about 4 or 5 minutes later. And
what's the hardware on that pad?
It's a Qualcomm 1.5 gig dual-core processor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the most responsive. I'll be honest with you. Not the most responsive, but not bad. Andrew, you've modded that though, right?
Yeah, I've put a whole bunch of speed tweaks on it, and it improves it out of sight, the performance.
Yeah, it does help.
Yeah.
See, I don't think Android's Android, but I just don't think that OS is going to help. That the responsiveness, because that has so many memory holes. The apps
Yeah, I think it's a memory pig,
so
yeah.
wild. That's the only thing that would concern me.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, I mean, I'm reading books on it at the moment using the Kindle app, and I probably get to about 2 days, and I've got to reboot it to get the memory leak out. But that could also be the application. But then, I've got a similar issue to Android that you do, Jim. I'm this weekend going to install an aftermarket ROM and see if I can actually get the thing to stop running out of RAM.
Yeah.
Move some apps off onto the SD card and move the cache and the Dalvik and all that stuff off onto a card and see if giving it a gig somewhere else will actually mean that I don't keep not getting my email because the damn thing's out of memory all the time.
That's interesting.
At least with iPhone, you buy a 32 gig device, you get 32 gig worth of memory. And how it manages it is entirely up to Apple.
That's the whole problem.
Right. But is it a problem? I mean, really, it's the okay. So here we go.
Can of worms. Yeah.
Is it a problem that it works? Right? And that
I don't think so.
Android doesn't work. I mean, Android works, right? Certainly, but there's times it doesn't, and it's open, and so you can hack it. But as you do all this work with it, it's questionable whether it's really going to be stable or not. Whereas with the Apple ecosystem, now it's not perfect, right? I mean, it's got its things, but you know what? Most of the time, it actually works, and it probably actually works because you can't hack it.
It's funny you say that too, because how can I say it? My iPhone accidentally got jailbroken, and I have an app that I need for work. I use it doing what I do. It saves a ton of time. It's a great app, and it actually just got ported to Android. But as soon as I jailbroke it, all of a sudden some of the apps I was adding and paying for, the phone started acting. It was sluggish. It wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. It's funny that you're in the same environment with Google than you are with a jailbroken phone, the way I think, because those apps are so wild. They're not controlled yet. They're not lassoed in.
Right. Yeah, they don't have performance standards.
Yeah.
That they're measured against.
And that's the thing with the iPhone too. I mean, Michelle's got one, and I know full well that if she loads 20 apps on it, it doesn't matter what combination of application it is, it's not going to degrade the performance of the device significantly. As long as she's within that memory threshold. And I think she's got a 32 gig device.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, I don't know. So Mike Howard in chat has said, you buy the device, you should be able to do what you want with it. And I'm fine with that. If you want to do, you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to turn it into a piece of crap, you can turn it into a piece of crap. I mean, that's fine. Yeah. I'm just saying.
You poking the bear again.
I have nothing against people hacking their stuff and crapping it out.
But don't bitch about it.
Don't bitch about it. Right. Yeah.
Don't complain.
Yeah, don't be like, oh, this piece of crap. Well, wait a minute. You just broke the agreement that that you have there, and so it's always an interesting debate.
It's a real big debate, Andrew, is variable speed transmissions versus 8-geared transmissions. You have any of them out there yet?
I think BMW are releasing one out here. The BMW are releasing the 8-speed in next month's release, I think, with the 1 Series.
Oh, they're going that early. Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys at work bought a Honda Jazz, I think it was, with the CVT in it the other week, and it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, the Nissans are replacing transmissions left and right with the CVT.
Yeah, and they can't handle torque.
Not at all. It's a shame too, because it's an odd driving feel with not having a car that shifts, but the computers and everything else, they're just burning the bands right out of them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, no, I think it's it'll be interesting. I think once they come up into probably what are they now? They're in second generation now, so third or fourth gen. Once they start putting him behind a diesel, I think they'll be in a lot better position. Because if they can get the box ready to go behind a diesel, and that means they're talking about handling serious torque.
Yep, they have to. Yeah, especially in the States, the diesels. You don't see a Jetta that's not a TDI anymore.
TDI means what?
Turbo diesel.
Oh, okay.
Which is you're basically, if you want a hybrid or a diesel, you get the diesel because you're getting the same mileage, and you don't have that. You have a little bit upfront cost because you're getting a diesel, but you don't have the hybrid cost. If that makes any sense.
Sorry, I'm following. They're trying to pull me into this conversation, into chat.
I'm looking now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to think the whole look. I like the concept of a hybrid, but I also understand the cost of manufacturing the vehicle itself.
Yeah, you and I have had this conversation, Andrew, and I own a hybrid, and
it's not a sledge of people who own them, because a lot of people are like, oh, you don't understand, you're an environmental terrorist because you drive a hybrid, and it's like, no, you're not. But I think it's also about it's kind of like me putting solar panels on the roof. The cost of manufacturing those panels and the inverters and the cable and everything else that goes together, and the PCBs that are used to generate it. I'm sure the environmental output of creating everything that makes that system possible is probably not a good thing, but it makes me feel good about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that's probably what matters more than the technology behind it.
Jim, what are you getting on your hybrid? Oh, I'm sorry.
Andrew,
Sorry about that.
you should need to finish that statement.
Please.
Yeah, no, I'd finish. So,
okay.
I think it's we've got lots of friends who drive hybrids, and you look at, say, the Lexus, what is it, their LX470, which I think you guys get as I don't know if you get the same car or not. I think it might be called a Harrier over there. I know it's called a Harrier in Japan.
No, we get the numbers and letters.
Yeah, so the LX470, the economy of that's worse than my 2.5 litre Subaru.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to ask them.
Yeah, but
that question.
the flip side of it is, well, how much would that car consume if it wasn't a hybrid? And we just don't know the answer to that.
Right. Bill, the answer to your question, I get 36 to 40 fairly regularly. 40 during spring and fall, 36, 37, 38 winter, summer.
Which makes you say that, if I can buy a diesel, a Golf or a Golf right now, VW, clean diesel, Blue Tech. It's not Blue Tech. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But that diesel will get you 47 miles to the gallon, and the price for that will be less than a hybrid. And granted, I don't know what your CO2 output or your NOx and SOx output is.
Yeah,
but
it's near zero. I mean, that Civic's pretty efficient in what it does,
even with the motor.
Yeah, it's a tiny little engine.
Right. No, it is absolutely.
Yeah, it's
but a diesel motor is it doesn't need a lot of space because it makes so much torque.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a motorhead, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me. I bought. Sorry, Andrew. I bought. I kind of bought it. I think Andrew was alluding to this a second ago. I kind of bought it to feel good about making a contribution because hybrids are perceived to be clean vehicles, right? To be green vehicles. And I want to do my part, and I plan to hold on to that car for a long time. I'm hoping that over that I'll burn less fuel over a 10-year span than I would have if I would have bought a regular Civic, right? That's the hope. And now the other argument that I hear from people all the time is, well, you paid more for it, so you're not really saving anything. Well, I didn't buy it to save money, right? If I could, there's plenty of cars I could have bought. I could have bought a Kia if I wanted to save money, right? I mean, and so I bought it to burn less fossil fuel was the goal. And 40 is pretty good. I mean, that's not a bad, and Bill, to your point, to the diesel, Yeah, I'm sure there's other cars that I could buy that would do less. That just happened to be, it fit all the criteria, and so I decided to do it. Now, if I took that car, okay, so that engine and that electric engine have serious computer components associated with it, right? I mean, there is a car OS, which, by the way, I just got upgraded at the manufacturer the other day when I took it in. I was complaining about some of the battery performance, and they checked it, and they upgraded, they basically gave me an upgrade on there, which was kind of cool, right? But say I had decided that the fuel efficiency wasn't good enough, and so I pulled those, and I hacked into that car OS, and I started changing things in there, right? I started writing my own, because I know better, right? I can do that kind of thing. I can go in there and change the programming and to get more out of it. And so I squeeze a little more power out of the engine because it is a dog. But then I start getting more. It's a 1.3 liter. It's horrific.
It's not bad once the electric engine picks.
No, that's true. Now
once it's got a lot of torque.
Yeah, you get a ton of torque, right? But what I'm saying, you don't, when sometimes if your batteries are too low and that electric engine doesn't kick in. So I go into the hood. I hack the computer in there. I add something to it to get more power because there is more power available in that engine. They limit it. Honda limits the power that comes out of that engine, right?
And that's the software?
Yeah, the software associated.
Okay.
Well, it's.
I never heard that.
I'm sure it's some firmware or something in the car, right? I mean, there's some electronic controls in there. It's not Windows, right? But follow me with this. There's some kind of electronic controls. If I go in there and change that, if I load something other than what the manufacturer specifies, can I do that, and should I be able to do that? Sure, it's my car. I can do it if I want.
Okay.
Do I hold Honda responsible once I go in there that they made crap because something I changed? I mean, this gets back to that argument we were just having a second ago here with iPhone, right? I mean, people say, "Oh, that's crap," and I should be able to change it. Honda does a lot of things to keep me from doing that, right? They make that difficult because they know chances are I'm not going to be able to do that successfully. Now, the guys that buy these tuners and they go in there, I mean, they buy these Hondas and they go, basically what they're doing is changing the firmware in the car to get more RPMs out of that engine because Honda limits it because they know they'll blow those engines right out of the cars, right? I mean, they'll just drop them like a rock. And they do it all the time. And these tuners know it now, right? I mean, they know they're going to take life off their engine. So I guess I don't have any problem with Honda as a manufacturer saying to me, don't screw with the firmware, right? It's the best stuff that we've got. We control it. Don't mess with it. Now, they can't, I guess where I agree with these guys is that doesn't mean that it should be against the law for me to do that, right? Where people say, no, you're breaking the law now.
It's probably against your warranty conditions, though.
Oh, it absolutely will void my warranty, right? And I guess that's the risk I take if I decided to do something with the car. That car is so complex, I would never do that. And yeah, Mike, I agree with you. It's their policy, it's so Apple took that a little stronger in their wording. Steve Jobs is the kind of guy. I mean, the reason Apple is successful is because Steve Jobs' policies are law with Apple, right? And it's when he says something, it's the law, and that's why that company has been as successful as it's been, is because he took no prisoners.
You know what's funny about the statement? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say, if you apply the car analogy, though, I think, and I know more about Subaru than I do about Honda because that's the mark that I follow. But in the Subaru world, they open the ROM to a degree. So the base ROM in the ECU will remain as it is. But like you can tweak small things, like you can get timing tweaked within a degree. With here and there, you can get the fuel timing tweaked, but the car's always going to have a safe map to go back to.
Yeah, sure.
With the way it behaves.
Sure.
It's once you go to a true aftermarket tuner and they then go and crack through the security that's been put on the base ROM and rewrite it and all the rest of it, that you then start getting an issue. And I think that's an analogy back to iPhone too. I mean, they don't care what you put on it as long as it comes out of the Apple Store.
Sure. It's supported, right? They want to guarantee
Yeah.
a great experience, and that's
absolutely.
how Apple has guaranteed. That's why it's done so well, is because they can guarantee a great experience. I guarantee you this: in 5 years, we are still going to have this crap Android versus Mac
fragmented operating system
versus Mac operating system. It's the same argument we have on the PC, right? The mass market is going to be on Android because it's cheap, right? PCs were cheap. The people who want things that actually work most of the time are going to be on Mac. And listen, I'm not a Mac. I mean, it's not. I have a crappy old Mac here. I'm just saying, their stuff just works, and it works well, and the user experience is good. It wouldn't be as popular as if it didn't. And that amount of control. And Mike, I do agree with you that Steve, in his policies, do go a little over the top in a fear environment, right? We shouldn't ever fear, that if I jailbreak my iPhone, I'm going to jail. And I don't think anybody's ever gone to jail because they jailbroke their iPhone, right? I get that, but
It's funny to go back to the car to Apple analogy. Mercedes-Benz their engineers always had it in their heads that the consumer doesn't know what they want. We know what they want.
Yeah, well, that's
and
the
Apple is exactly the same.
Yeah, no, right on. Very, very arrogant.
Yep.
You know what? You don't know, and to a point, there is some truth to that.
You're right.
You got to consider the audience they're catering to as well. I mean, I don't really believe that Apple are catering to the people who necessarily like how we want to be. And I know Mike's getting a bit upset about it because, looking at these comments in chat. but I mean, the reality is the people who are super users are never going to go and buy an iPhone because it doesn't do what they want it to do.
Correct.
So
they can't mess with it, right? They can't screw with it.
Well, you can if you want to, but if you're gonna go to that degree, then it's kind of like eating your own dog food, isn't it?
Go on a platform that's going to support it, right? I mean, that's going to support that openness.
Yeah. And so I mean, Apple have sold God knows how many million iPhones, but you look at, I mean, if you want to take that across to the Android platform, have a look at the Samsung Galaxy S2. I mean, they sold what is it, 500 million of the things in 6 months. So is it a form factor, or is it the operating system, or is it the look, touch, and feel? Because the Galaxy S2 is the phone that Apple were upset about, with respect to how much it was like the iDevice. So is it because Apple were on something that's a winner, or is it because Samsung have managed to get Android to do what Apple have managed to do and have the product that everyone wants, but also has the resilience through in this case probably through the hardware? Because I think the dual-core processor is what brings the Galaxy 2 that further up over, say, something like my HTC Desire, which has just got the Snapdragon 1 gig core. Whereas, that thing's a 1.2 dual core. So does the processor make up for what the application stack and the operating system do to the hardware?
Yeah.
By allowing it to be so fragmented once you load all your stuff on top of it.
Well, and aren't you just throwing
it's a can of worms.
Hardware resources at what is
a problem?
What is a crappy OS? I mean,
but is it a crappy OS? It's not a crappy OS. It's the architecture behind and the control of these applications. I believe.
Yeah, Bill, you're right. You're right. I'm unfair there. That you're absolutely.
But you're also bringing that back to the analogy that we'd have in the enterprise too, Jim. You have a problem with the database that keeps running out of memory, so you put more memory in the box.
Right.
Or you have
poorly
something that
written
just
SQL, right? That might be the problem.
Yeah.
It's the developer.
Yeah. It's the developer. Yeah.
Not always. Not always.
Well,
always.
you know what I mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know, isn't it?
Let me rephrase my statement because crappy is probably not the right word. Okay, and I'll agree to that. I'll retract that statement.
Fragmented.
Yeah. It has very little control.
Yeah.
And it can go in a lot of different directions without a lot of quality necessarily being associated with it. And in that lack of control brings freedom. It also brings problems. And so, oh boy.
You're getting the hook.
Yeah, you got to go.
Getting ready to go to bed, so
All right,
she
man.
came up from South Carolina. I got to roll.
Yeah, we'll let you go. Thanks for the conversation. It's good. I think
It's always great to talk to you
I
guys.
think it's a good debate, and appreciate you being on. So hang tight, Andrew. I'll wrap a few more things up here because I'll say some things in chat. So see you, Bill.
Good night. I'll talk to you soon, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks. Bye now.